Hello, my name is David. You can call me Dave. I share this video with you to give you my testimony. After years of prayer, meditation, study of scripture, consulting with friends and loved ones, I've decided that it's time. I know that each one of you will react strongly to my testimony. Some of you will be amazed and hear my words with wonder. Others will be shocked and recoil, or react with scorn and ridicule. Some of you will believe every word, and many of you will feel conflicted or feel confused. I know this, and I accept whatever reaction you come with. It's how you're made. I know also that some of you will feel a connection. You may have been waiting for someone who has shared an experience like you, and you've been waiting for me to speak. Whatever your predisposition, whether you're a Christian or a Jew, Muslim or agnostic, Wiccan or Buddhist or Hindu or atheist, I have a request for you. Just as you do when you go to see a film, suspend your disbelief. Be open to what I'm saying. Come with a feeling of hope and an open mind to the possibilities of truths beyond your understanding. Withhold judgment until the end. Afterwards, there will be time for connection and dialogue and understanding. Our journey is just beginning. Several years ago, some year that I can't tell you with certainty, I began to have strange, otherworldly experiences. As best as I can recall, this event happened 4 times, perhaps more. A typical event that I'll share happened like this. I remember driving my truck late in the afternoon. At some point, I started to have a feeling of déjà vu, like I was repeating events that had happened before. Shortly after, I started to feel a shaking and a tightness in my body, as the sense of repetition became a gradually stronger knowledge that I had, in fact, lived this same day before. It was happening again the same way. I saw a light in the periphery of my vision. I felt a pressure and a buzzing in my head, and a feeling of doom and dread overcame me. I remembered becoming overcome with fear and confusion. How was it that I was living this same day again? What did this mean about my life and my fate? I remembered the pain and personal strife of the preceding years of my life, and I became convinced that I was in hell or purgatory, cursed to repeat my life over and over and suffer the same pain as punishment for my sins. I felt like a prisoner who had been locked up on a life sentence for years. Yet I was feeling all of the pain and isolation and fear of a long life sentence crammed into a few moments of terror, and certain that the sentence would repeat for eternity. Then, as the feeling of dread grew, the light in my vision overcame me, along with the feeling of being trapped with no escape, knowing that death was coming for me without any hope for relief. And then it ended. My sense of consciousness ended. It was over. But my conscious mind was unaware, as if I slept. Sometime later, I awoke with no recollection of what I had gone through. I continued on with my life, living the daily struggles of balancing a job and raising children with my wife, going through the pains and struggles of a custody fight with my first wife, trying to make it one day at a time, with no memory of what had happened that afternoon. Then, one afternoon, after I think a year or 2 had passed, I remember driving my truck late in the afternoon. At some point, I started having a feeling of déjà vu, like I was repeating events that had happened before. Shortly after, I started to feel a shaking and a tightness in my body, as the sense of repetition became a gradually stronger knowledge that I had, in fact, lived this same day before. It was all ending the same way. I saw a light in the periphery of my vision. I felt a pressure and a buzzing in my head, and a feeling of doom and dread overcame me. I remember being overcome with fear and confusion. How was it that I was living this same day again? What did this mean about me, my life, and my fate? I remembered the pain and personal strife of the preceding years of my life, and I became convinced that I was in hell or purgatory, cursed to repeat my life over and over and suffer the same pain as punishment for my sins. I was having the same experience again. Not just having a similar experience, I was living the very same day again, following the same years of torment. I came to understand right then that somehow time for me was circular. I was like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the top of a hill, doomed to watch it roll back down so I could push it up the same hill again. All the pain and struggles of my life those recent years, I knew that in an instant that I had lived them before, and the pain and agony of repeating the same hurts flooded over me. I don't know how many times it happened, but I knew that it had been more than once. The light overcame me, and my consciousness ended. This happened perhaps 4 times when I noticed that the circumstances of that day were different. Rather than driving my truck when time collapsed on me, I was now at home. My family was with me, and they were frantic, telling me I had done something wrong, and I realized that the day was repeating, but events were slightly different. My family had no idea of the experience I was going through, only that I had made some catastrophic mistake, and they implored me desperately to make it right. There was nothing I could do. I was in hell or purgatory, I thought. Repeating events over and over in perpetuity. I remember yelling with all my strength, "God, please make it stop." Then the light overcame me, and my consciousness ended. If you believe that God is the creator of the universe, if you believe that he is sovereign over all creation, you have to believe in the possibility of what I'm telling you. I have come to believe that this is fact. Time is not linear. It's circular. At least in one way, that God has the power to run the clock backwards, to set all of creation back to a time he desires. That each of us is unaware when it happens. We don't go back in time ourselves. We are reset to a prior time in our collective experiences, unaware of what happened, unaware of what was going to happen to us again. Every one of us is unaware, except somehow me. Somehow I was aware of each day on that last day of my experience, right before the reset happened. I believe that all things are possible through Christ. As I said, I think this happened 4 times, maybe more. I recall those first times. I call them pre-awareness, before I had a sense of who I am in this story. Another time I started to have more frequent occurrences of déjà vu. These started to happen maybe once a year, when I would have a strong sense that the day had happened before. And on some of these days, there was no feeling of doom, no feeling of dread, no reset of the clock. At least twice, specific, important details of life were different. My mom died from cancer in early 2007. But twice I have seen her walk into my home, very much alive, into a home that I bought in 2010. The second time this happened, I remember thinking before she returned, this is the one where Mom doesn't die. Then I looked up, and she walked into my backyard to find me sitting on our backyard bench. I started to have a different feeling come into my mind, that I had a higher purpose in life. I started to feel something inside me that suggested I was God. I don't say that lightly. As a born-again Christian, I know that no man makes that claim, nor thinks that thought. It's blasphemy. It's a sign of evil. I've prayed and wrestled with it over and over for years. I suppressed the thought each time and moved on. My life went on. This cycle of life and death and rebirth continued. But differently from what I call my pre-awareness experiences, in these awakening experiences, each time I had the sense that I was God, but I would dismiss it. Then different events started to happen. Disasters started happening. Nuclear wars started happening. At least 4 times I have seen Donald Trump lead us into nuclear war. I came to believe that Trump is the Antichrist, bent on selfish desires and willing to take us past the brink into real World War III to protect himself and hold on to the presidency. And another thing began happening. I began to experience the afterlife. Once I awoke in darkness. I was locked in a metal cage, suspended with cages above and below me. In the distance, Torches burned on what looked like cave walls. It was dim and hot. I asked the man across from me where we were. "We're in hell," he said. "That's not possible," I responded. "I'm saved. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior." The lock on the cell clicked, and the door swung open. I was released, and I rose into the light. Other times I awoke to consciousness walking along a long, tree-lined boulevard in a clean, urban setting with tall buildings. I was once met by a person who seemed to be expecting me. I asked where I was. The person told me I was in heaven. He told me that I was being given a hero's welcome because I had saved a large population of the earth. Once I saved Texas. Another time I saved America. Each time I told the angel that met me that I was supposed to save the entire earth. "Then we'll have to send you back," he said. And so I found myself in a new type of circular time. Each time was in many ways like the previous. Each time, once I awoke in my bed, returned to a date earlier in my life, I was unaware of what had happened. But when I reached the end, to see nuclear mushroom clouds, or to feel that sense of dread overcoming me, and the light engulfing me, I had a growing sense that I was the Christ, the Messiah, and that my time was being cut short because I had not personally acted to prevent the end from coming. The last time that I recall, something different happened to me. I had seen the movie The Shack, where a man imagines, and in fact he believes, that he spends the weekend in a shack in the woods where his daughter had been abducted, abused, and killed. In that shack, he meets three personifications of the Trinity. It's a life-changing spiritual experience for him. I wanted to have an experience like that. A thought occurred to me to take the type of over-the-counter medicine that I knew in large quantities causes hallucinations. I did research on how much to take, and I abused the medication. I tell you this with a stern warning. The medicine is potentially deadly. I was hospitalized as the result. But I want to be honest with you about the experience because in the weeks following the event, in a fully sober state, I had memories revealed to me that I am sharing with you now. Do not dismiss my testimony as the product of drug use. Most of my memories predate that experience, and nearly all have come, as I said, when I was entirely clear-headed. In that time, once before, I had been working for a large corporation. The CEO is a billionaire philanthropist. One day at work, I met with my vice president to ask him for a promotion. He said that he had a different purpose for the meeting. "We think you're the Messiah," he said. He and the CEO both had that belief. Being Jewish, they invited me to the synagogue to meet with their rabbi. Myself having a last name that's common among Jews, and having heritage from Central Europe where many Jews lived before the Holocaust, they came to believe that I, David, was the Messiah that the Jews had been expecting. Later, I had dinner at the CEO's house. In awe of his home and his power and his life, I asked him, "Are you God?" He said, "No, you are." "Then who are you?" I asked. "Your guardian angel," he told me. His name is Michael, the archangel. Time progressed and I had doubts about who I was, and again, I took no action. World events spun out of control. In the Russian affair, emails were revealed, leaked by Jared Kushner and Don Jr., each showing that the other had actively colluded with Russia in the spying and release of DNC materials. These emails further prove that Freudian slip, that President Trump was complicit. In an effort to appear independent from Russia, Trump ratcheted up his anti-Russian rhetoric, and a war of words and threats with Putin erupted. Then one night, there were reports on CNN that northern cities were under attack. Reports that nuclear detonations had occurred. Reports that military experts proved. This all made sense. Missiles from Russia fly over the poles and would reach northern cities first. Time ended, and again I found myself in heaven. Only this time, there were many people on the street with me, including my adult children. I awoke to consciousness among them, walking along the boulevard with them, and I asked where we were. "We're in heaven," my 18-year-old son answered in a sad voice. I asked him why he was crying. He said, "Because my mom's not here." My eldest 3 children are from my first marriage. My ex-wife has a fraught relationship with the church. Apparently, she was not saved. Apparently, everyone else had been saved, but not her. The 99 were in heaven. She was the lost sheep. I asked my son what he wanted me to do. "Do you want me to ask Jesus to send me back in time to get your mom?" I asked. "Yes, I want you to ask Jesus to send you back in time to get her." I shouted out, "Jesus, please send me back in time to get her." A voice responded, "Do it yourself." And so once again I was met by an angel. A man and a woman took me into a building with my wife, my second wife. I wanted to ask for her permission to go back and relive events so that my first wife could be saved. The past few years of our life had been quite trying. I wanted her consent. The angels explained that only I would be aware of the repetition. They told my wife that she would be unaware. To her, it would feel as if things were happening for the first time. And, they said, things wouldn't be as trying as they had been before. She agreed. "I won't take that medicine," I said, to avoid the trauma of the hospitalization. "No," they said, "we need you to remember who you are." So here I am, giving you my testimony. I believe every word of what I've shared with you as much as I believe that I am sitting here alive today. I believe that I am the promised Messiah. I am here to lead the world as your king. I am here to give you this warning that Donald Trump must not be allowed to destroy humanity. I know that this is a lot to absorb. I know what your reaction will be. In a previous life, I have come under attack and been killed for what I am saying. I do not fear death. I have every assurance that if I fail in this mission this time, God our Father will send me back earlier in time to try and try again until we get it right. My prayer is that you will send me your comments. Follow me on Twitter. Let's connect and discuss. I'm sure you'll have thousands of questions about who I am and what type of a leader I intend to be. I assure you I will be benevolent and loving, and I intend to lead democratically. I love each and every one of you, and I promise you will have a voice in the future of our planet. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.